Today, we're going to dive into the incredible journey from childhood all the way to adulthood. It's a time of just massive change, both physically and mentally, and it completely transforms how we see the world and, our place in it. Let's get right into it.
I mean, just think about that for a second. The leap from being a 9-year-old to being a 25-year-old it's huge. We're talking about going from learning your multiplication tables to navigating careers, serious relationships, and paying rent. So how does that transformation actually happen? That's the big question we're going to unpack today. So here's our roadmap. We'll start with the physical growth of a child, then we'll look at the incredible rewiring that happens in their brain. After that, we'll explore this modern idea of emerging adulthood, see what life is really like as a young adult, and then finally, we'll put it all together to better understand the people around us.
First up, let's talk about middle childhood. Those elementary school years. This is a time of really steady, predictable physical growth that's laying all the groundwork for the crazy teenage years that are just around the corner. The growth during this period is just remarkably consistent. Kids are shooting up in height by about 5 to 7 centimeters every single year. It's that stage where you see them in September and then again after Christmas and you swear they've grown an inch.
And they aren't just getting taller, they're definitely getting stronger. They're putting on about 2 to 3 kilograms annually, but this isn't baby fat we're talking about. This is their muscle mass increasing and their skeletons hardening, which gives them all this new strength and coordination for the playground and, of course, the classroom.
During this time, we also start to see some subtle but pretty important physical differences popping up between boys and girls. Girls tend to accumulate a slightly higher percentage of body fat, while boys start developing more muscle mass. These are basically the early blueprints for the bodies they'll have as adults.
Okay, so the body is growing, that's clear. But the changes happening inside the brain are honestly even more mind-blowing. This is the period where a child makes that incredible leap into logical thinking.
You see, the brain isn't just growing in size, it's getting a major upgrade to its operating system. A really key area, the prefrontal cortex, which is kind of like your brain's CEO, is undergoing this massive renovation. And this improves everything from attention and reasoning to the ability to control impulses.
So, how does the brain get so much more powerful? Well, there are two key processes going on. First, something called myelination increases, which is like insulating the brain's wiring. It makes signals travel much, much faster. And second, there's synaptic pruning. The brain literally gets rid of neural pathways that aren't being used. Think of it like cleaning up a really messy computer desktop so you can find the important files way quicker.
Now, the end result of all this rewiring is a huge cognitive milestone that psychologists call the concrete operational stage. It's a bit of a fancy term, but it just means a powerful new ability. A child can now apply real logic to the physical world around them.
Here's a perfect example of what that looks like. A younger child might get really confused by this, but a child in this stage, they get it. They can understand that one person, their mom, can have multiple roles all at the same time. She's a mom, sure, but she's also a daughter to grandma, a sister to their aunt, and a wife to their dad. This shows their new ability to classify things and see the complex relationships between them. But here's the thing. As these kids grow up, the path they take to adulthood looks totally different from how it used to. In fact, researchers have identified a whole new life stage that, for the most part, simply didn't exist for our grandparents' generation.
It's called emerging adulthood. The best way to think about it is as a new transitional period, roughly from ages 18 to 29. That's kind of sandwiched between being a teenager and being a full-blown adult. It's a time for exploration, of careers, of love, of who you are as a person, without the full weight of adult responsibilities just yet.
So what does that actually look like? Well, it's defined by exploration and a delay in those traditional adult milestones. People are taking longer to finish school, they're taking longer to settle on a career, and they're definitely taking longer to get married and start families. It's a whole period dedicated to figuring out who you want to be before you commit. And this isn't just a theory, right? The data completely backs this up. Take a look at this. Back in 1947, the average age for a woman to get married was just over 21. Fast forward to the year 2000, and that age had jumped all the way to 27. This huge shift in life's milestones is a key reason this new developmental stage has emerged. This all leads to a really fascinating question. Is this extended period of exploration a good thing? Does it allow people to make better, more informed choices for their lives? Or is it a negative thing, sort of a failure to launch? Honestly, the answer is really complex, and you can find strong arguments on both sides of that debate. So what comes after emerging adulthood?
Well, that's when we enter young adulthood. This is the phase where all that exploration starts to solidify into more lasting choices, and people really begin to tackle life's big questions head-on.
So, what does it actually mean to feel like an adult? Turns out, it's less about a specific birthday and way more about hitting these key internal milestones. It's about accepting full responsibility for yourself, making your own decisions independently, and becoming financially stable. And for many people in different cultures, it also includes being able to financially support their parents.
Physically, this is prime time. I mean, young adulthood from your 20s into your early 30s is when the human body is at its absolute peak. Strength, your senses, reaction time, cardiovascular health, it is all running at maximum capacity.
And the way you think gets way more sophisticated too. Young adults start to move beyond a simple right versus wrong view of the world. They understand that context and nuance matter. They become more pragmatic, focusing on what's practical. And this is a big one. They get so much better at blending logic with emotion, which allows them to navigate really complex social situations with a lot more wisdom.
And at the very heart of the social world for a young adult is this central challenge. The psychologist Erik Erikson called it intimacy versus isolation. It's this fundamental drive to form deep, committed bonds with other people. If you succeed, it leads to really fulfilling relationships, but failure can lead to profound loneliness and a feeling of isolation.
Okay, so we have covered a lot of ground here, from a child's physical growth all the way to the complex social world of a young adult. We've seen how each stage really builds on the last one. So the big question is, how can we actually apply this knowledge in our own lives?
I want to leave you with this final thought. Whether you're a teacher, a manager, a parent, or just curious about people, think about the young people in your life. Based on everything we've talked about, are they in that exploratory, in-between phase of emerging adulthood? Or have they moved into young adulthood, where they're making more permanent choices? Understanding where they are on this map can change everything about how you support them and connect with them. Thanks so much for joining me.